Hello, I'm Rob Rezick with Media Awareness, and I'm a vampire. This subject really provoked me today, and I had to do this video. If you're new to my channel, please check out my other content. I mainly cover music and occasional film suggestions, along with literature, but I haven't really gotten around to that yet. I do have some on the horizon, as well as some more esoteric topics. Also, if you are familiar with my channel and you like my content, please click the bell icon to be notified when I upload things. Become a subscriber. Click the like button, comment below. Feel free to follow the links in the description to my Facebook page where you can contact me directly. You can be assured that you will receive a personalized response from me regarding any and all issues, topics, suggestions, whatever you may have. So, AMC is making, or has made, it looks like, Interview with the Vampire. Or is it? Because it doesn't seem like Interview with the Vampire to me. Now, before people click away thinking that I'm racist, because the main character of Louis is being played by a black gentleman of color, however you want to say it. I don't know what's politically correct these days. Um, that's not the reason why I'm opposed to this adaptation of Anne Rice's classic Interview with the Vampire story. I've read Interview with the Vampire numerous times. I actually became an Anne Rice fan prior to reading that. I picked up a copy of her novel, The Witching Hour. It was compelling to me, and it made me want to read more of her work. So I dove into her world and became engulfed in the macabre worlds that she explored in her writing with any number of characters, specifically the character of Lestat. I'll get to that in a minute. When it comes to Louis, the main character of Interview with the Vampire, I have issues with this AMC adaptation of Anne Rice's work, and I don't believe that Anne Rice would have gone for this if she were still alive. Sadly, she's not around to really put up a fight, and I think it's a cash grab, in all honesty. Because historically, if you aren't aware of this, you're going to now be made aware of this. When the film Interview with the Vampire was being made in the early 1990s, Anne Rice was very vocal in her opposition to the casting of Tom Cruise in the role of Lestat until she saw him in action, and then she was all for it. Once she saw his portrayal as Lestat, that she was sold, and that was her main gripe. She wasn't sure if he could pull it off. Being that Anne Rice was so involved with that film and her Vampire Chronicles in general, as that is a prized possession of her estate, basically. In the original Interview with the Vampire film, starring Brad Pitt as Louis, Tom Cruise as Lestat, Kirsten Dunst as Claudia, Christian Slater as the interviewer, Antonio Banderas as Amran. It's an all-star cast. The story begins. Louis starts telling his tale of how he became a vampire. And he says the year was 1791. In the trailer for the AMC original Interview with the Vampire series, it starts out very similar, but the interviewer in the trailer has a more lighthearted tone. And in the AMC trailer, Louis says that he became a vampire in 1910. Now let that sit for a second, because that's quite a change in time. That's quite a spatial difference in the context of the original book and the original film and the AMC adaptation. That's a major, major deviation, major liberty, and it's going to be changing a tons of plot points that were relevant and made relevant by the original story. You can tell he's kind of sarcastic, I suppose, but the tone of Louis is also very flamboyant. It's not downtrodden. The character of Louis, he is a very scarred soul. He's done with life at that point in time. He's taking all the risks possible in the book and in the film adaptation. And this vulnerability and this yearning for something more is what attracts Lestat, because he's throwing caution to the wind and really just shrugging away any possibilities for even momentary happiness. When Lestat enters the picture, of course, changes things briefly, but Louis ultimately realizes that he is still damned. In the trailer for the AMC version, however, as I said, there is a stating the years there when the stories take place. There is a significant time difference in when the stories really originate, when they take place, and that's kind of where I take issue with this adaptation. You see, in the original novel and in the film with Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, etc., Louis he's basically the head of a plantation in the New Orleans area. So he has slaves. It was that time frame. And I'm not sure if it's because of all of the issues a few years ago with Black Lives Matter, and that's still going on to some extent still. And a lot of those issues that continue to stifle people of color, people of difference actually over the years, that maybe they decided, well, we should probably rewrite this a little bit. That was a really big creative liberty that was taken. And I believe that was too big of a creative liberty. There is dialect differences, there are visual, stylistic differences, and all that is fine if the story is done well. From what I've seen in the trailer, I am not impressed. I know trailers can be deceiving, but when you really take that many liberties, that right there is a bad sign, in my opinion. Also, from what I could tell from the trailer, they have sort of merged the personalities of Louis and Lestat to make Louis more flamboyant, since he is portrayed, at least in the trailer, as the how should I put this nicely? The pimp, I suppose, of a whorehouse. That's the impression I'm getting. I've also done some research prior to this, and a few months ago, Maven of the Eventide, you want to check out her channel. I will see if I can find the link for that. She reported on this as well, and she found information about the casting and the changes that were made. And it would make sense if they have a gentleman of color playing Louis, that he not be a slave owner. That's a common sense thing. However, if you're going to make that many changes, why do it at all? That's kind of where I'm at. So, I have my copy here of Interview with the Vampire. I have my copy here of Queen of the Damned, which, well, glare there. That glare, there we go. Queen of the Damned took liberties itself. And the main reason why it was made was simply to retain the rights to the material, I believe. Interview was made out of passion, and you could tell the acting, everything is followed to the letter. And Louis is the brooding soul that doesn't want to exist. And Lestat is very flamboyant, larger than life. We get to Queen of the Damned, the film, and Lestat is portrayed as brooding, but yet is a rock star. And during the time it was made, it was done relatively well, but none of the characters really, aside from Natasha, the queen, played by the late Aaliyah, she was the only real memorable character in Queen of the Damned, because they had deviated so far from the novels. Now, I will explain. The novels are told from the vampires' individual perspectives. So, in the original book, we have Louis being interviewed. The interviewer is a younger gentleman in the novel, at least, and he tells his story, and he tells his sadness and discontent with life and even with being a vampire, once he is turned. In Queen of the Damned, well, Lestat is, you see him as more of a third person character. You don't really get the first person perspective as much. And that detracts for me personally as a longtime fan of Anne Rice's work. But also, when these films were made, there was no desire to make a cinematic universe. And if there was, it wouldn't have, it probably wouldn't have worked as well. Timing was not right, and timing is everything. I think if there's anything we have learned from the past several years, the MCU, we have The Hunger Games, we have Twilight, Vampires again. I would rather watch Twilight right now than watch AMC's Interview with the Vampire. That's how annoyed I am with this. Because Twilight was taken from the source material. I don't have problems with things deviating from the source material. I'm a fan of Amazon's Wheel of Time, and they deviated. I'm a fan of Amazon's Man in the High Castle, and they really deviated. But they made it something worthwhile. In both cases, in my opinion. With AMC and the Interview with the Vampire, they are really stretching things. And by incorporating aspects of Lestat into Louis as a character, it then poses the question, what's Lestat's role going to be? And is Lestat going to be the Lestat that we know from the book or from the original film? If I were you, I would stick with the original film. And if you're really ambitious and you really want to see more vampires in Anne Rice's general style, Queen of the Damned with a very bad glare. Why is that so bad? There we go. Okay. Those two films are really good representations of Anne Rice's work. You can also read her novels, which I would highly recommend. They are widely available. Interview is not very long. It's a short read. And it's a really incredible story. The Vampire Lestat, which transitions into the third book, The Queen of the Damned, is sort of a continuing story with those two books. But those two together are amazing. Along with many of her other vampire books. The Vampire Armand, I love. One that a lot of people do not like is The Vampire Vittorio. I think that is a phenomenal novel. But people just don't like it. They think it's a little bland, and I can see why, but it resonated for me. I do like it. If I do have the chance to see the AMC Interview with the Vampire, by chance, I'm not going out of my way to see it, but if I do, if I'm lucky enough to see it by chance, I will give you my honest response, and if I'm impressed, I will take this back. But from what I have seen, the changes that have been made in characters alone, as far as personality, not even race, personality, time frames, these things are crucial to that story being what it was. So, if you share my annoyance, let me know. If you're looking forward to this new adaptation, despite its creative liberties, which are many, let me know. I'd love to know. There is a Patreon link in my description as well. The Patreon page, however, is still being worked on. So if you want to get a hold of me directly, your best bet is to contact me on Facebook with the link in the description below. That's my suggestion if you actually want to contact me. So, I hope this was helpful, or at least enlightening to some who may not have known about this. It's being widely publicized now, though, and yeah, it's going to be the next big thing. At least that's what they're hoping for. I'm sticking with Interview, the movie starring Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Kirsten Dunst, Antonio Banderas, just to name a few, Christian Slater. This film is a work of art. Queen of the Damned, made years later, isn't as good, but it's not bad either. It's passable, and like I said, unless I somehow am given the opportunity by chance to see Interview with the Vampire, the series, and give it my honest opinion and be impressed by it for what it is, I will not be seeking it out actively. Queen of the Damned, if you're so inclined to follow the vampire films or visual medium, and if you're ambitious enough, just pick up a book and read it. Read Interview with the Vampire at least. It's short. And it's worth it. That will compel you to read the rest of them. I guarantee it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. This is Rob with Meteorness. As stated at the beginning of this video, if you like my content, click the like button, click the bell icon, leave a comment, and I will see you very soon. Thanks. Bye.